This is a fun one. A judge orders the release of 600 migrants swept up in ICE's Midway Blitz operating in Chicago. So we just saw yesterday that Trump was informing us that crime had dropped because, believe it or not, putting the people who commit crimes in cages stops them from being able to commit crimes outside those cages. And the socioeconomic factors didn't grab other people and force them to commit the crimes. But some judge decided that they were going to release a bunch of the people who were swept up in that blitz. And by the way, you might claim these things are unrelated and, you know, yes, this is Midway Blitz, but these are migrants and not necessarily people who are out breaking the law. No, come on. These are, in many cases, the same people. People who come into the country illegally don't respect our nation's laws. We also know that most crimes are committed by repeat offenders, or at the very least, that a huge percentage of crime is committed by repeat offenders. And if you lock those people up, they stop. Or if you send them out of your country, they stop. But we're going to read the opening of this article. More than 600 people who were arrested by ICE as part of its Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago are to be released, a federal judge has ordered. District Judge Jeff Cummings issued the release order on Wednesday morning following a lawsuit brought by civil rights groups against ICE and a U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. I mean, in the civil rights regime is just insane. Literally anything anyone does to try to protect the country can somehow be called racism by someone, and they're going to claim it's a civil rights violation. This idea of the left calling everything racist when they don't like it, it has broader implications than rhetorical effectiveness or ineffectiveness once the words lose their power. This is actually something that's brought to a matter of law. At least 615 people are to be released by Friday, November 15th, and must make bond by November 21st, the order stated. The lawsuit brought by the National Immigrant Justice Center, they're not immigrants, they're illegal alien invaders, but I digress, and the ACLU alleged that federal agents violated a 2022 settlement agreement over warrantless arrests in Chicago and the surrounding area. What do you guys think of this story? What do you think is going to happen to Chicago as a result of these migrants being released, or these illegal aliens that ICE arrested alleged illegal aliens, I suppose. To be clear, allegedly, maybe there's someone who was, or some of them were, I don't know the legal status of the people arrested is what I'm saying. I assume that ICE goes out and arrests people who aren't here legally. But I don't know the basis for the lawsuit.
Trump has like a fantastic argument to the people calling him racist now. They're like, you know, you're a racist. You're having all these people arrested. He's like, have you seen how many H-1B visas I'm bringing in? Like, how can you, like, that would blow their minds, right? The average Democrat is like, oh my gosh, he's actually bringing people in from other countries. They must all be from Eastern Europe because he would only bring white people in.
This is the real great replacement, is just replacing the people they deport with H-1Bs. Yeah. Like, all right, you go, you come in.
We were wrong the whole time.
That's right.
Yeah, well, what I will say about, I think there's two major points. The people who file these lawsuits, so the National Immigration Justice Center and the ACLU, these people do not care one lick, the status of the people. Their point, their strategy is coordinated. We knew what the strategy was going to be. It's the same strategy they always have. To slow Trump down, to nick at him with 1,000 lawsuits in every single jurisdiction he's doing this in. Their goal is to do this day in and day out to break down their resolve. And I hope Tom Homan and Stephen Miller and the good people in the Trump administration wake up tomorrow more fired up than ever to keep this going, because their strategy is to use the NGO swarm on the left that I bet we could look up and see a ton of government money going to the National Immigration Justice Center. We are funding our own demise here, and I think that we need to do a better job of keeping up the pressure.
Well, one question I have is, like, when we're talking about the immigration issue and people who didn't come here legally, like, are they illegal aliens or are they just friends we haven't made yet?
They're illegal aliens.
Yeah.
It depends on what reality you step into.
That's right.
Different dimensions, there's different answers.
Point. Yeah, I guess it's a fair point. Well, yeah, federal judge from alternate dimension rules that Trump must halt arrests of illegal aliens. Yeah, like you said, they're just going to do death by 1,000 paper cuts. They're going to try to prevent the administration from operating or governing with any level of effectiveness. It's very frustrating, tell as old as time. I think I couldn't have said it better than you did. We just hope that some of the people in his administration who are known for being bulldogs actually stand up against this and get something done, because this is getting really ridiculous.
Do you think there's justification for martial law in situations like this?
I guess it depends on what you mean. Like, do I like the idea of martial law? No, but also, does the federal government have a right or role or responsibility to prevent states that are literally usurping the role of the federal government by disobeying its laws?
We've literally done this before.
Yeah.
I mean, so we had some states in the South, not West Virginia,
right.
but other states, that decided that they didn't want to listen to the president of the United States, and there were some pretty big repercussions for that. Yep. One of them being, actually going in, that the entire 20, 30-year period of Reconstruction was an effort to resolve a lot of these problems. More recently, the 1950s and 1960s, during the Civil Rights era, we had Eisenhower, we had JFK, he mobilized the National Guard, sent them in when they had cities that were doing things far less subversive than what Chicago and a bunch of these other cities have done. There's a ton of legal precedent for the president to do exactly what he's doing, in fact, to escalate it.
And I guess that wasn't really martial law when they were sending the National
Not martial
Guard.
law, but using federal authority when cities were just straight up, disobeying, federal law.
Martial law, I guess I shouldn't soften that term, because that would be like curfew at 6 p.m. If you're out, you might get shot. If you're out after 6, that kind of energy. I don't want that world to be like that. I don't feel like
it hasn't been that way since COVID, when Tim Walz put in a curfew in Minneapolis. There's those videos. Do you remember these?
No.
Of the cops walking down the street during COVID, telling people to get back inside.
In China, they had
China and Minneapolis.
Oh, did
they? Yeah.
And the hotline you could call to rat out your neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That was only a few years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, nothing that Trump could do. I mean, I won't say nothing, all right, because then I'll end up being surprised. But there isn't that much that Trump could conceivably do that would be more draconian than the COVID lockdowns.
Yeah.
I used to call them shutdowns because we never were forced to stay inside. They just told us to stay
We were kind of
inside.
forced to stay inside in certain
Some
areas. They had
states-
curfews.
The Democrats, they were, Newsom was arresting people going to the beach. Mm-hmm. They were actually doing it in the blue states. I think lockdown was appropriate there.
Like in China, from what I heard, they would weld people into their houses, like literally lock them inside. So we didn't.
Britain was, I think, there's been a lot that's been said about that, but in the UK, they had to download an app, and if they went more than 3 blocks from their house, they were only allowed outside their house for 90 minutes a day.
So would you be comfortable with that for a situation of getting illegal immigrants out of the country?
Yeah, we wouldn't need a lockdown.
I don't think we
for
need
that.
to do that.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's appropriate. I don't think you need to. I think that when you do have blue states, blue cities specifically, Mandami's already talking about refusing to comply in New York. I think that the president has an absolute right to go in and enforce, federal immigration laws. He was elected with a mandate to do this. I think he's being overly cautious in his implementation of it. I don't think that martial law is necessary. I do think that stronger use of force is absolutely appropriate.
Yeah, and of course, any attempt Trump makes at enforcing any federal law is going to be called martial law by the left. That's
sure.
it.
Well, that's the point, right? The question they keep asking is why does he keep half-stepping it when they're going to call him names and tell him that he's a fascist anyways?
Yeah, he's got to resist it. That's it's a rules for radicals. Saul Alinsky, they call you fascist until you actually become one. It's a goal of theirs is to keep saying you're the demon, and then finally one day you're like, okay, you want to play the game? Fine, I'll be the demon.
Yeah, and the other aspect of this that I think is really interesting, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if this is going on in Memphis and some of the, there's Memphis is an interesting case where it's clearly a Republican state but a blue city, where the president has gone in and has been very aggressive. I think that what we're seeing, so we mentioned the NGOs there. There's very clearly super strong coordination amongst these NGOs, which we saw during the Biden era, and that we're seeing in tons of other areas of state governance. It's the area I like to call the shadow government of NGO networks that effectively run these state governments, whether they're red states, blue states. These are government entities, that are funded by the government but are separate, private organizations that effectively will come in and run government departments, whether you're talking about, the civil rights era or whether you're talking about transportation, education. The shadow government of the states is a real thing, and they coordinate very effectively.
This is your specialty line of work, actually.
It
You
is.
uncovered a bunch of NGOs that are funding states to do what? Get on board with uniform thought?
Yeah. So, it's really interesting. So, we're here in West Virginia. You have, everyone knows California and New York are super liberal. People think that, Texas, Florida are super conservative. When you actually get into it, these NGOs that I'm talking about, the shadow government, which you can find on our website, stateleadership.org, these organizations that we itemize in here represent every single function of state government. Local government as well. We're focusing on the state level. Every single department of every single state government has an organization that represents that function that is national and operates as a coordinating mechanism between all the states that ends up creating, so while you have DEI in Texas, the same way you have DEI, in Illinois, it's because of these national coordinating organizations.
Is it federally funding NGOs to create a problem that they can solve? Like sometimes they say the homeless epidemic, you don't really want to solve it because you're making so much money. Is it the same thing with immigration?
Yeah. So, it's really interesting. It's actually most of these are state-funded organizations. So the state is paying membership dues to these organizations, and they end up causing this, they end up coordinating, and they end up furthering their radical left agenda, and they end up actually like increasing, funding for themselves. I mean, it's like this self-licking ice cream cone problem. But that's what these organizations do. And when to be clear about this, we have the organizations focused on civil rights. They have these organizations focused on state parks, making sure that state parks are welcoming to immigrants. Like that's like an actual program that they have like an NGO focused on.
That sounds like one of those USAID programs that we were hearing about.
It's
just
that
one of the
level of
silliest,
insane.
most like NPR sounding thing you've ever heard in your
It
life.
absolutely is.
Oh, but it's state by they've broken it apart into smaller things. So people are like,
There are literally hundreds of separate orgs that do all of this stuff, really super niche, so that you would never have any reason to ever remember it.
oh, it's so tempting to think this stuff's boring and irrelevant. It's actually the Hydra.
Yeah. No, it's literally, there's probably 1,000 of them. Like if you were to add them all up, our website, we have 25, the biggest offenders, transportation department, Medicaid. No one ever thinks of like the Medicaid department, the Medicaid director. Literally, have an organization of every single Medicaid director. This is a bureaucrat. It's not even a political appointee in most states. Medicaid director in every single state in America, they all meet up, they all talk about and strategize how to insert DEI, racial quotas into, like they actually coordinate, put this stuff out. It's all public, but it's so boring, no one ever pays attention to it.
Do they do it slow? Like, we're going to do it in Texas this month. Next month, let's wait 2 weeks, and then we'll implement it over here. It'll make it look like
These
it's
have
not
been
like
going
disparate.
on for 100 years. So most of these organizations have literally been around since like Woodrow Wilson.
So this is Federal Reserve, like this is how the fascists were trying to control.
This is all progressive era organizations that were created by like Woodrow Wilson. It's like a super wacky history.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.